Pro Tem. Uh, First of all, I want to say Paul was being a little modest with the storm that we had earlier and the volume of water that we got between about 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Uh, Neither one of us thought we were going to make it to the meeting tonight at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. And it really, we're a small team, and Paul's utilities crew, it was amazing to see them work. There's no time to stand around and look for someone else to take it up, and everybody jumped in and did what needed to be done. And frankly, I mean, they got on it so quick, it saved the city potential fines and penalties because there was no sewer overflow, and that was no small task to accomplish in the volume of water that we got in that short amount of time. And so I wanted to give kudos to the utilities crew, and I was proud to be a part of that today and watch everybody just jump in and take care of that. So
That's awesome. Bravo.
Yeah, good job.
That being said, the roads, do we have, you know that name?
This
I saw it on there a second ago.
yeah. Okay, I got all kinds of windows open. Stand by. Just 1 minute.
Stand by.
This pension.
There it is.
Okay.
So the roads overview, there's a lot of great presentations that come in here. Director Hinowitz gave a great legislative update on the housing legislation, and the PERS update was fascinating, and everyone's competing for budget money, right? And my favorite topic happens to be the roads. So you can move along. The importance of the roadway system, I mean, everybody knows, has an idea of what the importance of the roadway network is to the city's infrastructure. It's much easier to see the importance of the roadway network than it is to see the water and sewer that's underground. Although, Paul mentioned it in his report, often they go hand in hand in a lot of the projects. So we do have a lot of challenges to overcome in the city of Lakeport with the road system. And I feel like we've been making great progress in the recent past, and we'll get into some of the recent projects we've completed and what's upcoming. But there has been decades of deferred maintenance and limited funding, and the city manager and the management team, we talk about giving these overviews of departments prior to the budget workshop, and it gives the council an opportunity to help prioritize where some of that funding is going to go when we're making the tough budget decisions that we all have good arguments for the needs on each of our departments, and I definitely want to advocate well for the road system. And then, on top of the very competitive limited budget funding we have a very small staff that tackles complex state and federal regulations to go outside the general fund and compete for state and federal funds to kind of supplement what might be available from the general fund. And we do have a very strategic approach to addressing Lakeport's pavement challenges. You can just go ahead and go to the next one. We have a three-pronged approach. What we have decided to try to do is we got to keep the good roads good. It is the most cost-effective strategy, and the good roads typically our pavement index scores are higher on the arterials and collectors than they are on the smaller residential streets. So, portions of Main Street right now are in pretty good shape. Forbes Street's in pretty good shape. 11th Street, the pavement portion is in decent shape. And it's to our advantage financially to try to keep those in good shape and not let them deteriorate to a point where it would be super expensive to come back and reconstruct those from the base up. And so that's what we do with the surface treatment on kind of the roads that are good. Then we're picking some projects on these main arterials and collectors where they have gone a little too far and they need a little more attention. And we've made some progress on those. North Main Street from Fifth out to Clear Lake Avenue is a recent example of that. We'll get into the upcoming projects in a little bit, but we've really made some strides in the residential areas recently where we don't necessarily do a full reconstruction of the road, but we do what is a double chip seal with a leveling course. And it's a cost-effective thing that we feel can stand the test of time in those residential areas because of the less traffic volume. And recently we've done the 14th Orchid and Palm neighborhoods over there that were in desperate need of attention. The Del Lago neighborhood, Montana Vista via Del Lago. And we also did one of the biggest challenges. We did the double chip seal with the leveling course was North Main from Clear Lake Avenue all the way out to the end. That segment of road presented a number of challenges, and I'm really happy with how that came out and how that product is holding up over the last couple of years. So that's kind of our three-pronged approach. Measure Z has had an impact on what we can do, particularly in those residential areas. That's opened up some of the general fund money, some of the arterials and collectors that are bigger projects we would never fund with Measure Z or general fund. Measure Z may supplement some of that, but we're definitely competing for state and federal funding to do some of the bigger projects. But since it passed in 2014, we've completed 9.5 miles of road improvements, and that's a little bit over 31% of the total road network, which is 30 center line miles in the city of Lakeport. And we've been keep updating this cool map I brought in the back that shows the work that's been done on the surface since the passing of Measure Z. Go ahead. So this is one of the most asked questions I get is how do we decide what's next? How, everybody that has a bad road wants their road done, and it's most important to them as it would be to me. And so Paul's presentation covered it very well. Paul and I work very closely together. There is no point in repaving a road if the water and sewer is in horrible condition and is going to need to be replaced 6 months or 9 months or a year after you spend all the money redoing the road. Now, there are circumstances that come up sometimes where we pave a road and something unforeseen happens, and it's everyone in public works and utilities nightmare when we have to dig in a good road. And so Paul and I work very closely together on, okay, here's my top list, Paul. What's your top list of water? What's your top list of sewer? We take into account the daily traffic loads and, what the fire flows need to be under those roads. And, often it's a very long discussions on one little segment of road before we can agree on, yes, this seems to be the priority, not only for what we can see and feel as we drive, but often it's really more important on what's going on underground at that point. And so that really plays a big part in the prioritization. And not only, do we not want to dig it up? If we are combining water, sewer, and surface improvements all at the same time, we get an economy of scale, and it's much cheaper for both of our projects if we can make a bigger project and have one contractor come in and do these kind of things. So that is definitely the biggest driver of how we prioritize what's going to get done next. And going along with it, Paul talked about all of his 2024 pipeline project, and it's not really Paul's project, it's our project, right? And we're all working together on that. And as with any underground project, unforeseen things get dug up, and the cost may go up. Sometimes the cost has gone down, like we've dug things up and that's not as bad as we thought. And so, but anyway, as this pipeline project progresses, there is going to be an amount of funding left over to repave some of the worst arterials and collectors in Lakeport, which Martin Street is. I mean, nobody would disagree that Martin Street is in horrible shape. And, you know, as a result of going along with this pipeline project, we can certainly get some surface improvements there. And there are portions of Lakeshore Boulevard where the pavement's failing, and we're going to address that in conjunction of this. And then just see how far we can go once we get closer to the end and have a better idea of what the budget constraints are on remaining on that pipeline project. So future plans are the South Main Street project. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get that in before the weather shifted on us this year, but we do have all of the funding secured and obligated. So after you know, the meetings with our engineering team and the contractor's engineering team, we didn't want to rush this. The temperature was a critical part of the longevity of that project. And so we really thought, as bad as everybody wanted to get that done, including myself, you know, before the weather changed, we didn't want to sacrifice longevity just to have a quick fix. And so it really was the prudent thing to delay that project until it warms up. There's a very specific surface temperature that we need to maintain while the asphalt goes down in order to ensure the longevity. But that will be completed in the spring of 2025. And that goes along with the pedestrian improvements that we also did on South Main. Lakeport Boulevard is, there are a lot of moving pieces on Lakeport Boulevard. We have another item after this report that's going to talk about a contract amendment with a design firm that has to do with Lakeport Boulevard. It's WMH, who did a great project scoping report for us on the roundabout at Bevins, for the nexus for potential impact fees. And really, we envisioned the courthouse connecting there, but we have some challenges in working with the courthouse project, which is another moving part that is definitely tied in to the Lakeport Boulevard project. And then there was a very old RSTIP project that was funded to put a roundabout at South Main and Lakeport Boulevard. There were financial challenges with that. It was grossly underfunded. We felt like that project was never going to come to fruition there in the near future, and we were at risk of losing the RSTIP funding for that. And so it was a very difficult process to take that project back to the CTC and Caltrans and get it reprogrammed and rescoped to do some surface improvements in the road and break that project into two phases. We have phase one funded now. This is what's upcoming in 26. It could go into fiscal 27, but we've broken that, and phase one will be the resurfacing of Lakeport Boulevard and continuous pedestrian path from South Main all the way up to Vista Point. And then there are crosswalks across Bevins. And so we would have some continuous pedestrian path from Main Street to Vista Point and beyond. I put in Forbes Creek head wall repair, which also goes along with the one-lane traffic control that's been in place on Hartley for quite some time. It wasn't too long ago I gave council an update on those two projects and the challenges and the delays that are faced on meeting all the federal right-of-way and environmental requirements particularly, and how many times that goes back and forth and it just sits in the state agency or a federal agency's hands for review, and it just sits and sits and sits, and we just wait and wait. We are making progress on those two, and we're about to wrap up the right-of-way portion, which will then will be squarely into the waiting for the construction portion. So I just wanted to bring those up because those are still out there, and it's certainly some of the challenges we face, and everything seems to take so long. And before I worked for the city, I was one of the people that said, wow, that's been there for years. Why don't they do anything? And I had no clue. Nothing would make all of us happier than to have those fixed already. But with the budget constraints in the general fund, the city just does not have the funds to do this out of their general fund and forego any state or federal assistance. And so that's why those are still there, but we haven't forgotten them, and we most definitely haven't stopped working on them. So, excuse me. One of the things that when I came in after Doug Greyer left, one of the first things I had done was apply for an active transportation plan grant. The county and Lake APC have always put together a regional active transportation plan. And it's great to have a regional active transportation plan. Often regional projects can get funded. However, there was never an active transportation plan that I could find that focused solely on the 2.5 square miles that is the city of Lakeport. And I thought it was really important to go after this active transportation plan. This is the key. This is the first step in acquiring the state and federal funding that we so desperately need to continue to make progress, not only on the pavement, but complete connectivity with bike and ped and complete streets, and some of the improvements that we get the community feedback on that we would like to see. And so we went aggressively after this, and I had some out of the box ideas on how we might fund the match of this grant, and it triggered an audit from Caltrans, which we passed with no findings. But don't try to get too creative when you're trying to explain to the state how you intend to match their grant funds, or they may come look. But we welcome them. Come on back, because we have detailed records and we can survive close scrutiny from any of the state and federal sources. Community engagement is always a big part of any of these that we do. We talked about the comms piece, and that's a big part of the community engagement. Often all of the funding sources require a certain amount of community outreach, and every program that's run by the state or the feds, it seems like everybody wants community outreach. And I feel like it kind of starts to get like sign fatigue, right? Because people come in, they give their input, they give their opinion, this is what they want, and then you're in the waiting portion and nothing happens. And so if they've come down and they've given their input, and the wheels of government are turning, but they don't know that, and then the next thing they see is, oh, we need community outreach for this project. They go get their community outreach. Now that one's going through the slow process. And in the meantime, they feel, this is the feedback I get, that I have gotten from members of the public and people that have reached out to me, that, I've given community input on 10 things and nothing seems to get done. It's just plan, 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 and you want our input, but nothing happens. And, you know, I can understand where their frustration comes from. However, we would not be competitive in any way if the community wasn't involved in, you know, participating in those plans. And so we give these updates, we give the comms piece a lot of attention. We do have the active transportation plan. We invite people in, and, you know, that really does make the whole process transparent. We try to be available. I'm available if anyone has questions at the public or council. You know, I'm happy to talk about these things. This is what I do all day, every day. And I get passionate about a lot of these things, and I'm very happy to discuss them with anyone. So yeah, we try to stay transparent and keep people up to date on what's going on. And that's it. That's my roads update.
Thank you, Ron. Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, Ron, surprise. I had a conversation with Kevin. I hope he's gets on his flight and getting where he needs to go. But anyway, the one thing that I always hear about over on the Lost Continent is people driving from Timbuktu to go to the Pomo pumps, and now we have one outside of town. And when I was talking to Kevin, he said there's a huge portion of our budget, like 25% comes from gas tax. And I have kind of like two questions. The impact is not really quite known. We have a new native gas station outside of town, and I'm sure that's going to have an impact, and it could be devastating. I mean, they're only like a mile out of Lakeport, and the question I would have is, I look at the pumps quite often when I'm watching the money roll up, and there's like 78 cents or something tax between sales tax and federal. Normally we get SB1 money, and the question would be, do they pay, because do they pay sales tax and SB1, or both, or neither? Or do you know?
At the new,
At all of the, because they're usually on sovereign land and they have special kind of, they're a beneficiary of certain programs.
I'm not sure what they pay. I don't believe they pay into SB1 or HUDA.
They're not, they don't.
That was my point. And I wrote a letter and ran it through chat, whatever. I'm sending it to the various the two chamber of commerces, and kind of generally to the public, to let them know that while I'm not saying don't go there, but SB1 money has done unbelievably well for the state of California, and the project that Caltrans has done just on 29 between Lakeport and Rodman Slough, and then where it collects into Rodman Slough. I mean, it's unbelievable. And other projects that I see all around the county, it's big money, and they're not paying that. And I'm just kind of admonishing people or begging people to at least occasionally, you know, buy at somewhere where the money is coming back to the city of Lakeport, because we do get some of that funding. And it's important to make sure that the decisions that you make to buy, whether you're going over to, you know, Costco and stopping at their pumps, and all your sales tax is going over there to Mendocino County, and forget about the $35 of wear and tear and gas. And then they're getting all the money, we're getting nothing, and we're, you know, we're getting in pretty dire straits when you see the UAL and those kind of things. So I just think that this is kind of like a smaller elephant in the room, but people really need to think about the longevity and the roads and all that stuff, and they can make a difference by at least, you know, buying before you leave, you know, Tractor Supply, you know, the gas stations that are in here, you know, might bring in sales tax and SB1, whereas running out to a native casino, unfortunately doesn't pay SB1, and it certainly doesn't support the Lakeport sales tax. So would you have any comment on that?
I mean, I like to have as much money to address the issues with the roads as possible. And
Good
so,
answer.
Yeah, I'll just touch on it briefly. So I think it's important to make the differentiation between sales tax and SB1 and HUDA. So the SB1 and Huda that we receive isn't distributed directly at the pump,
No,
right? Those monies are collected by the state and then distributed equally. It's the sales tax that we're not generating from gas being sold at the pump that has the most impact of the general fund. In all honesty, more of an impact than tribal owned gas stations is electric vehicles for Huda and SB1. And again, plug for Cal Cities, their transportation group is working very closely with Caltrans, and Caltrans is generating, VMT style models to collect additional tax dollars that aren't being collected at the pump anymore. So that's also something to get involved in to better understand how we're trying to change the collection of those taxes, so it's not just collected at the pump.
yeah. So Nick, since you have the mic and you know what's going on there, I remember when I was at Cal Cities that they said that the average vehicle, electric vehicle pays like something like $118, and the average car that uses gasoline pays triple that in fees. And so, yeah, that is a big one too. But I also, the big thing is that the sales tax that we get directly when people leave, to do whatever it is, but particularly gas, when I hear it's 25% of our budget, that's a lot. And so, but we all benefit from SB1 money, which isn't going in. So it's just another small reason to reconsider every time that you might want to make that drive. That's my comment.
Thank you. Any other council members?
Yeah, beautiful report, Ron. I think there might be some sort of competition going on here because I don't know, they're looking really good, but your goals and planning are paying off. It seems like the road condition is not the hot topic that it used to be. People would just complain. And you guys have been chipping away and it's really making a difference. So stay passionate.
Couldn't stop him.
Can't.
Yeah, I'll chime in with that. I was surprised. I wanted to see the map that you have in the back bigger in the presentation so people online could see it too, because since the passing of Measure Z, we have done a lot of paving. And yes, it might not be right in front of everybody's house, but as a whole, we are chipping away at it slowly but surely. So thank you for all your hard work. I think I want to see if there's anybody in the room that has any roads comments or questions while we're on this topic. Nobody in the room? Anybody online?
No hands online.
Okay, anybody else from council have anything to say about the roads for Ron? Okay.
I appreciate you taking time earlier today to explain a couple of things to me. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Next is another Ron item, the WMH contract. Authorize the city manager to execute the second amendment to the professional services agreement with WMH Corporation.
Sure, this is right back to the Lakeport Boulevard project that we brought up in the roads update. Council approved a contract with WMH to develop a project scoping report for a roundabout at the Bevins intersection, which would be a nexus for impact fees for future development, particularly on the west side of the highway. And because with the future development of the courthouse and other predicted, traffic increases in the area, we thought the Bevins roundabout was a prudent thing to have the initial design for. And WMH did a great job on providing that for us, and we have that PSR complete. And there was a little bit of money left on their contract, and in moving the project on Lakeport Boulevard from a roundabout at South Main to more road improvements and pedestrian improvements on Lakeport Boulevard, we thought it was advantageous to investigate with WMH if they would be willing to begin the design phase of those improvements on Lakeport Boulevard with us because they have a lot of the knowledge, the measurements, the surveying, some of the surveying done. They have, and we had a little bit of leftover budget. So there was about $26,500 left over on their budget. Their proposal to design the improvements on Lakeport Boulevard that have been approved by the CTC and the funding is secured for the construction. The current design proposal for them on that was $77,500 for a difference of for the contract amendment was $51,039.19. And so the staff report plus the road report I just gave kind of lays it out really well. And we're asking that the council authorizes city manager to execute the second amendment to the professional service agreement with the WMH Corporation.
Thank you, Ron. Any clarifying questions here from the council? Not seeing any, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone in the room have any questions of this item? Looks like no one in the room. Nick, any hands raised online?
Seeing none online.
All right, bring it back to council for discussion or a motion.
I have a quick question. Where are we gonna pull the money from in the budget?
So it would be out of the general fund, and the general fund would be reimbursed through future impact fees that are collected.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if there's nothing further, I'd move to authorize the city manager to execute the second amendment to the professional services agreement with WMH Corporation.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Last up here tonight, we have the city council communications. We'll go around the room, starting with Community Development Director Henowitz.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Chief.
I would just like to add a few words, the wonderful words that Mayor Pro Tem Disney offered at the beginning of the meeting regarding the incident that occurred in Library Park on Friday evening and the collaborative work that was done between law enforcement agencies. I just want to also commend and make sure the council notices Ron and Paul's employees as well. They were called out late that evening and responded in a very timely, brought necessary equipment to assist us in the investigation and securing the scene with barricades and a pop-up and also staffed some of the points, entry and exit points, to make sure people stayed out while work was done. And it's just the internal collaboration that happens as well is a huge part of the successes that happen here in city government. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Utilities Director Harris.
No report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing further to report.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, just really quickly, as I'm sure most of you are aware, tonight will be my last council meeting here with you guys. It is a little bittersweet. I just want to say a couple of things. One, that the city of Lakeport is a fantastic place to work, and that is not why I've made the decision to move on. And I'm definitely going to miss the relationships that have been created here. It's a great place to work. It's been a great place to work since I've been here. It starts with the council members and the executive staff and my staff, and really all staff at the city of Lakeport really care about what we do. And so, a big thank you to you guys and to everybody. And I've tried to leave things in an orderly place. We've gotten a lot of the big projects pushed along as far as I can. And hopefully there'll be a pool of good candidates, and I'm sure there will be somebody else that will do the job very well as well. And, I'm not moving to Tennessee. I'm still going to be a resident of Lake County, and I'll be around. You all have my phone number, so I'm sure I'll see you guys around.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for
Yeah.
everything. Actually.
Thank you, Nick. City Attorney Anderson.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrative Services Director.
Yes, I just wanted to give a shout out also to the utilities and public works crew today that worked swiftly and coordinated as they are known to do. So hats off to them. As as you know, City Manager Ingram meant to be here tonight, but got delayed with some travel delays while he's attending the Cal Cities City Managers Conference. And I just wanted to say that we're really going to miss Nick Walker. That he has accepted a director position somewhere in Sonoma County. I'll let him announce where that is. And his last day's Friday. Worked with Nick for 8 years. He's definitely leaving the finance department in a better than he found it. And his award-winning budgets really make me mad because I never get an award-winning MOU. But we will definitely miss him and wish him well at his new place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Councilmember Matina?
Thank you, Nick. I can't believe it's already this really too quick. You have done so many wonderful things for the city, and we are really going to miss you. And I feel really proud to be part of the city right now. You guys have all just gone above and beyond and impressed everybody. We are so lucky to live in this community, but I think a lot of people don't realize how lucky they are to have you guys out there and doing what you guys do to keep it all going. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Price?
I have nothing to say.
Thank you. Councilmember Parlet?
Well, Stacy, as she's done over the last several years, kind of stole my thunder, but I cannot be more impressed with the knowledge and the presentations and how succinct and excellent they were and what you do and how you lead your staff. And the staff didn't just do a great job because it's all inherent. A lot of that, probably a lot of that comes from leadership. So thank you for some excellent presentations. And Nick, your refunding, I think it was just alluded to it briefly, the, countless millions of dollars that we've saved by doing the right thing at the right time and managing that UAL, which always terrifies me. And I don't think people really appreciate that one thing and how much of a difference it's made in Lakeport. But I too am so proud of the leadership and the people that we have working for us, and you guys just blow me away. So I'm glad to be back for a while to keep an eye on you guys, but you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, my report is much the same. We're really gonna miss Nick. Those are some big shoes to fill. We will probably need to boost the Facebook post to get a qualified applicant, but you definitely have left us in a better place than which you started, at least from what I've heard. I've only had a couple years working with you, but good luck in your new endeavor and you'll be missed here.
Thank you.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Easy, nice job.